Hi, and welcome to today's topic, which is high cholesterol. So we will be looking at the psychosomatic patterns behind high cholesterol. Let's start by defining what high cholesterol is, okay? So this is an ailment that is when a type of lipid fat produced by the liver in the body. Cholesterol is an essential part of the normal functioning of the actual body. Now, cholesterol is actually necessary for your health and your body, since all the cells are surrounded by the lipid layers that include the cholesterol. Now, for people, the abnormally high level of cholesterol causes health problems, and this can be anything from heart attacks, strokes, and therefore it's important to look at the emotional stress that's actually happening in the person's life that's causing them to rapidly develop or slowly develop this high cholesterol in their body. Now the question is, why do some people develop high cholesterol who does have a bad diet, and others perhaps also does have a bad diet don't develop high cholesterol? Well, in reality, the person who actually had a bad diet and does not develop high cholesterol actually often develops another type of medical ailment that is caused by the bad diet. Now, what sets these two people apart? The answer is actually simple. It's a genetic predisposition. Now, the person who's more sensitive to the high cholesterol will also have a family history, an ancestral history of perhaps having a high fatty, unhealthy diet, which means that their body is more sensitive to fatty foods compared to the person who is less sensitive to it, and which in this case might actually have a more healthier diet in their history and also in their ancestral history. Now let's also look at the psychosomatic patterns behind high cholesterol, as the diet plays a very big role in this ailment. However, emotional stress is also a great contributor as well, and should never ever be excluded when any medical condition or emotional or psychological disorder is being explored. Now, let's just quickly look at what I said earlier about the actual medical explanation for high cholesterol. The lipid, meaning the fat produced by the liver in the body. Now, according to my metaphysical anatomy language and interpretation, fat is like a protection barrier that also absorbs toxins to protect the body from absorbing it. And it also holds reserves for the body. But in this case, fat actually represents an emotional protection barrier. Now, the lipid fat is produced by the liver. And the liver represents anger, it represents resentment, and also emotional boundaries that are not being expressed in a healthy way. Now, high cholesterol also actually affects the heart and can cause a stroke. Now, in the metaphysical anatomy language, once again, that tells me that the person had a very challenging time actually establishing their identity, and especially in a place that would make them feel safe. Right? That space within their household while they were growing up, within friendships, within relationships. And their privacy was perhaps also not respected, and they didn't have healthy opportunities to practice and establish what their boundaries were or were supposed to be at the time when they were being crossed. And also that communication at the same time was extremely challenging. I mean, if you have bad boundaries, it's almost guaranteed that you do feel challenged in communicating yourself as well. And in this case also, it's almost like communication equals conflict. It equals disruption and stress to them, because cholesterol is also found in the blood, which confirms once again that there's a lot of stress with the communication for the person, because blood also represents actual communication, the flow of the communication. How easy is it for you to communicate your needs, communicate your values, and communicate your opinion? Now, in this case, the communication is actually often expressed in a very passive, aggressive manner, and the driver or motivator of the communication is suppressed anger due to boundary failures and often feeling with that feeling of powerlessness from either your childhood or from an incident that you haven't actually quite fully healed and processed. But wait, there is more. And I also acknowledge that you might think that many people have these emotional issues. However, for people with this condition, these issues are much more dominant than other emotional blocks that they have in their life. Now, the person also seems to block love and joy from flowing into their life, and this could be due to the fear of rejection. Now, communicating one's needs or truth to others has not been the easiest task. These people also may have found themselves in situations in the past when they did express any dislike that they had in either a person or a situation, or just voice an opinion, and they were actually subjected to punishment. Now, bitterness and anxiety often go hand in hand with people who suffer from high cholesterol, as well as they actually have a tendency to overreact in confrontational circumstances that cause them to feel attacked. And this can be either verbally, it can be physically, or even just emotionally. And this is a result of pent-up anger and frustration that causes them to feel overwhelmed and oversensitive to confrontation. It's almost like their radar is always right up there, ready, waiting for and looking for situations that could potentially threaten their peace of mind and that will make them feel that they need to defend themselves. And this can often stem from a childhood where either parent could not control their emotions or would exaggerate their feelings when they were provoked. A parent may also actually have overshared their stress, their marriage problems, or even responsibilities with this person during their childhood, creating a great deal of responsibility and not knowing how to communicate their needs because the responsibility and the burdens that were being expressed was in conflict. The child knew that there was actually too much happening in their external environment that would cause them to not actually have their needs met. Now, people with high cholesterol often also expresses themselves in a way that is pleasing to others, and they may feel the need to insulate themselves, protecting themselves from a harsh environment. And this can be harsh words, harsh relationships, and friendships. And this person might also often fear that others will not be there for them when they need support, and they tend to have a martyr personality, right? So receiving support is challenging for them as it always came at an emotional price or some level of obligation that they were not always able to fulfill. So you've made an association with receiving support and love and attention and comfort with either guilt, shame, and feeling either burdened by what is expected from you in return. And that tells me once again, it's about expressing, communicating your needs, knowing how to express what it is that you need, and also having that inner knowing and self-acceptance of knowing that, you know what, it's okay to sometimes just receive. Allowing that flow of receiving and giving, I acknowledge there's always an exchange, but it often is, in your case, if you do suffer from this condition, that receiving is not always the easiest thing for you to do. Now, there is also a self-sabotaging aspect to this because high cholesterol can actually be brought on by bad diet, and you have to ask the question, why are you sabotaging your health? Okay, it can also be due to smoking. And also here on a side note it begs the question, what will happen if you were fully healthy? What will change in your life that you perhaps don't want to change right now if you were actually really fully healthy? The answers to those questions will help you to find the self-sabotaging block, and I do invite you to explore that. Now, tips on how to deal with it is look at the suppressed anger. Where in your life have you suppressed your anger and why? What's the benefit of suppressing your anger? Who do you feel you need to emotionally protect yourself from? This can be behavior, it can be words, it can be actions, it can actually also even be an environment. Who communicated to you in a harsh way that was either upsetting or very emotionally traumatizing to you? Learn how to speak your truth without needing anger and fear to power through or to deliver your opinion and your emotional needs. You are a strong individual, and no one has the right to challenge your emotional and your physical safety, and as well disrupt your peace. And one big lesson here to finally learn from as well is to fully understand that you are in control of your life. You are not that little child anymore who can be bossed around or suppressed and controlled in any way, shape, or form. This is now all about you embracing your body, your health, and also listening to your emotional needs, and listen to what it is that your body actually needs. And that is in terms of health, when it needs a break, what is its boundaries, where's the limits, where's the threshold for it? Because ultimately, your body is here to serve you. Your body is your vehicle in life, and its purpose is to help you to fulfill your life purpose. Until next time, my name is Evette Rose.